Hello everybody, it's Clozapine Fit and Lean for another video. Okay, so I want to go into briefly insulin reduction. So insulin reductive medications, as well as leptin sensitizing medications, and also insulin sensitizing medications, and also insulin reductive healthy diets, and how it plays a role in keeping healthy and lean on clozapine. Okay, so if you are on clozapine, okay, the very first thing I recommend you get your doctor to do, even if you have not yet developed metabolic syndrome or significant weight gain as obesity, prophylactically, you can ask for this. It's very important that you get it. In both situations, if you have already established obesity and MET-S, or if you're not, yet have established these things, is you get your metformin. Okay, so the metformin is super important because, as I discussed about the metabolic disturbances of clozapine, is that it somewhat reduces your serum concentration of insulin that goes completely raising through the roof when you are on clozapine, and also therefore it reduces this problem, not completely ameliorates, but reduces this problem of proximal leptin resistance to the high insulin. So the metformin works basically by sensitizing the liver to insulin. Okay, it reduces hepatic glucose output. Also, it increases the uptake of glucose into the periphery, so the skeletal muscle, as well as increasing the oxidation rate of glucose in the skeletal muscle, the periphery. And also, there is a plant extract I use called berberine. Okay, this is very good. I use 500 daily milligrams of this. And what this stuff does is it actually sensitizes the medial hypothalamus to leptin. So you take both of these approaches. You take the metformin and the berberine. I take 2,000 daily milligrams of metformin XR right at the before bed with my main dose of clozapine. I started out on 750 mg daily. We titrated up to 2,000. That's what seems to be working with me alongside the 500 mg daily of the berberine. Now, as I said, when you're on the clozapine, the insulin, the hypersecretion, the hyperinsulinemia problem, your energy storage hormone, and the subsequent proximal leptin resistance just simply drives a biochemical change, a biological environment in your body where you just simply cannot stop gaining weight and eat moderately. And if you do lose weight, it just comes right back on again around your midsection. It's very, very important, as I said, that you not just get the metformin. It's not just important that you get the berberine. It's also very important that you follow a low sugar diet for insulin reduction. The low sugar diet is important because it prevents basically non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which essentially the sugar essentially through de novo lipogenesis, hepatic de novo lipogenesis, drives what we call fatty liver disease, which essentially you have this infiltration of the the fat in your liver, which, as I previously mentioned in one of the other videos, messes around with your insulin kinetics. You cannot fold or clear insulin properly, and also furthermore as well is you get exploitation of free fatty acids on the high sugar diet, leading to skeletal muscle cell insulin resistance. So it's very important, if you're on clozapine at a full treatment dose, is that you get your metformin, you get your berberine. This has to be prescribed by the doctor. Please do not self-medicate from a pharmacy website. And also, what I'm saying as well is that you need to make sure that you're focusing your diet around healthy fats. Use carbohydrates only sparingly when you need them. Okay, it's very, very important that the carbohydrates you do eat are really non-glycemic. If you have insulin resistance, glycemic carbohydrates can hurt you because it causes a blood sugar spike, which leads to inflammation of your arteries. If you have the inflammation of your arteries, what happens here is you end up with this hot plaque formation. And when you get this hot plaque formation, one day it can, with turbulent flow, high blood pressure, tachycardia, is that platelet cap can break off. That happens in the coronary artery. You have a myocardial infarction or heart attack. If that happens in your leg, you have a deep vein thrombosis, which can dislodge and lead to a pulmonary embolism. And most devastating of all, this can also lead to an ischemic stroke, which can be life-changing, life-limiting, debilitating, a mortal injury, or kill you in a really horrible way. So please, use carbohydrates sparingly around times of activities such as sweet potatoes, lentils, maybe basmati rice, not to be confused with long grain white rice, which is very glycemic. Basmati rice is about half the glycemic index of long grain white rice. Things like vegetables, get your fibre into, feed your gut, your gut, your bowel fauna. Otherwise, it feeds on the mucosal membrane of your bowel. And if you have become really insulin resistant, if you've got pre-diabetes or full-blown type 2 mellitus, I recommend for 3 weeks going, or 3 or 4 weeks going into ketosis, where you're running your body not in glycolysis, but in from ketosis. So your body's running on blood ketones rather than blood glucose. And this can really, alongside the medications like the metformin and the berberine, it can basically reverse your insulin resistance in 3 or 4 weeks, and then you can transfer onto a healthier glycolytic diet, which is much more easy to follow, much more balanced, as long as you just essentially keep that sugar down. By the way, saturated fats are not as bad as we once thought. Saturated fats are only bad if you already have insulin resistance. It can exacerbate previously established insulin resistance, but they can be consumed moderately if you do not have insulin resistance, because you have, say, insulin sensitized yourself with the ketogenic diet and you've done exercise and such. As well as using the insulin reductive medications, insulin sensitizing medications. That's all I really have to say about that. I need to keep these videos brief because the time frame of what YouTube allows me to have on my channel is not very large. So how can I say? I'm very hungry at the moment, by the way. So if I have skipped some details or not presented myself particularly well, is because I am really hungry from the gym. So there we go. Clozapine, fit and lean.